Stop scrolling for a second, because what I'm about to say might quietly expose something about you that you didn't even realize. Right now, as you're listening to this, your brain is already trying to predict what's coming next. It's not passive. It's watching, judging, connecting dots. And if you stay till the end, there's a high chance you'll start noticing things about yourself and other people that you won't be able to unsee. Let me show you how strange the human mind really is. Have you ever caught yourself talking, but no one else was around? Not whispering, not joking, actually talking to yourself. Most people feel embarrassed admitting it, but here's the twist. The people who do this more often, they tend to organize their thoughts better. It's like their brain is rehearsing reality before it happens, and that quiet conversation, it can shift your mood, sharpen your decisions, and sometimes it's the only honest dialogue you'll ever have. Now think about this. Why is it that the moment you lie down to sleep, your brain suddenly becomes louder? All day you're distracted, busy, numb. But at night, everything comes back. Conversations replay, regrets whisper, imaginations run wild. It's almost like your mind was waiting for silence just to confront you. And here's something even stranger. The last person you think about before falling asleep often lingers in your mind longer than you expect. Not because of magic, but because your brain prioritizes unfinished emotional loops. It hates things left unresolved. That's why some people stay in your thoughts far longer than they deserve. Now let's flip this. Have you noticed how some people walk into a room and instantly feel likable? They don't try too hard. They don't speak too much. But something about them feels familiar. Sometimes it's as simple as this. They use your name. It sounds small, almost meaningless. But hearing your own name activates attention in a different way. It makes you feel seen, acknowledged, important, and most people are starving for that feeling. But here's the darker side. The same brain that craves attention is also terrified of rejection. That's why some people laugh too quickly, agree too easily, stay too long where they don't belong. Because deep down, being ignored feels heavier than being mistreated. And here's something most people won't admit. If someone gets irritated over the smallest things, it's usually not about the situation. It's about something missing inside them. Patience doesn't disappear randomly. It erodes when emotional needs go unmet. Now pause and think about this. Why do some people choose to be alone? Not occasionally, but consistently. It's easy to assume they're antisocial or distant. But in many cases, they've simply learned that peace feels safer than disappointment. Silence hurts less than expectations. And oddly enough, people who spend more time alone often understand themselves better, but they also overthink more, feel deeper, and sometimes carry heavier thoughts than they show. Let's go deeper. Have you ever written something without thinking and ended up writing your own name? It happens more often than people realize because your identity is the strongest imprint your brain holds. When given freedom, it returns to you. Everything, in some way, leads back to you. Now here's something subtle. Next time you meet someone, don't focus on their face, look at their shoes. Strange, right? But people unconsciously judge effort, lifestyle, and even personality based on small details like that. Not because they want to, but because the brain is wired to make quick decisions with limited information. We think we're logical, but most of our judgments happen before logic even arrives. And speaking of hidden signals, body language tells stories people don't say out loud. Someone who keeps moving their hands or tapping their feet. Their mind is rarely still. It's racing, processing, trying to escape something or reach something. Someone who looks back repeatedly while walking. It's not always caution. Sometimes it's hesitation, a quiet uncertainty about what's ahead. And then there are people who smile all the time. They seem fine, strong, unbothered. But here's what's unsettling. Some of the kindest people you meet have learned kindness the hard way. They give what they never received. They comfort others while quietly carrying their own weight. That's why you should never assume someone's strength means they're not struggling. Now, let me tell you something that might change how you see relationships. People who become close to you very quickly can also leave just as quickly. Fast connections feel exciting, intense, almost perfect. But depth takes time, and without depth, intensity fades. So sometimes what feels like a strong bond is just a short-lived illusion. And here's something even more complicated. If you talk about someone from your past often, there's a reason. Maybe it's not love anymore. Maybe it's not even longing. But your brain doesn't revisit things without a purpose. It goes back to what still has emotional weight, what still feels unfinished. Now let's talk about confidence. Not the loud kind, not the showy kind. Real confidence. It's quiet. It's in the way someone maintains eye contact, in the way they don't rush their words, in the way they don't feel the need to prove themselves every second. And sometimes it's in the smallest gestures, like a handshake that doesn't let go too quickly, not aggressive, not forced, just certain. Confidence isn't about dominance, it's about comfort with yourself. But here's the paradox. Many people who appear confident built that confidence after feeling the exact opposite. Insecurity often comes first. Now let me ask you something. Do you ever feel like your mind is more active at certain times of the day? There's a reason for that. Your brain isn't constant. It fluctuates, peaks and dips. Some people think clearer in the morning. Others come alive in the evening. And late-night thinkers, they tend to question more, imagine more, sometimes, worry more. Because when the world goes quiet, their thoughts get louder. Now here's something almost uncomfortable to hear. If someone suddenly stops talking to you, it doesn't always mean they forgot you. Sometimes they just chose distance, and that's silence. It often says more than words ever could, because people rarely disappear without a reason. They just don't always explain it. And that lack of explanation is what keeps you thinking. Loop after loop. Now let's shift again. Have you noticed how children behave? The way they stare at the sky, the way they get lost in simple things, that curiosity, that depth, it fades over time, not because it disappears, but because it gets buried under expectations, routines, and noise. But some people never lose it. They keep that sense of wonder, that ability to feel deeply, to imagine freely. And those people, they often experience life more intensely than others, which is both a gift and a burden. Now here's something subtle but powerful. Your mind believes what you repeat, not what's true, not what's real, what you repeat. So if you constantly tell yourself you're not enough, your brain starts organizing your reality around that belief. And if you tell yourself you're capable, it slowly starts proving you right. Your thoughts aren't just reactions, they're instructions, and your brain follows them more than you think. Now let's talk about something almost everyone experiences, but few understand. Loneliness. Not just being alone, but feeling alone. It doesn't just affect your mood, it affects your body, your energy, your thinking patterns, and the longer it stays, the heavier it becomes. Because humans aren't built to feel invisible, we're built to connect, to be seen, to matter. And when that's missing, something inside us slowly fades. But here's the twist. The person who tries to make everyone happy often ends up feeling the most alone because they give so much of themselves that they forget to check if anyone is giving back. Now let me leave you with something that might stay in your mind long after this ends. You don't become what you want. You become what you repeatedly do, what you repeatedly think, what you repeatedly allow. So the question isn't just who you are right now. The real question is, what patterns are you feeding every single day? Because quietly, without asking for permission, those patterns are shaping the person you're becoming. And once you start noticing them, you won't be able to ignore them anymore.